Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming in today. We'll get the meeting started. I guess we'll start. Do you want to do roll call first? Or do we do roll call?
Not usually.
Not usually? Okay, that's fine. We have quorum. So approval of the agenda. Oh, no. All right. My computer just restarted. Bear with me. That the agenda for November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee be approved. Somebody put that on the floor for me, please. Councillor Proust and Councillor McClellan. All in favor? It's passed. All right, disclosure of any pecuniary interests. I don't see any. If you come across that, let us know at the time. Number 4, presentations and delegations. We don't have any right now. 5 items of reference are there for you. No consent items. We'll get into matters for consideration. 7.1, AHA 2025-298, Community Planning Permit System Template, Project Update and Presentation. I'll just hand it over to staff, to Debbie. Oh, let's go ahead, Nathan. Yep.
Thank you, Chair Bell, and good morning, committee members. As you may recall, in the past, planning staff provided a verbal update on this project. So as a bit of a reminder, this project is the county, it's more of one of our value add projects that we like to do every year. And what we're doing is bringing together a general template for a community planning permit system and bylaw and official plan policies. And Debbie is here from Planscape, and they're the consultant that we've hired, and so she's here to give a bit of an overview of where we're at and the benefits of the CPPS. And so Debbie, if you could come on over. And Debbie is one of the specialists of the CPPS across the province, so we're really thrilled that she's on the project, and she's been teaching us a lot because CPPS is a way of planning, but it's not as common of a way of planning as most municipalities are used to. So hence the template project, and thank you very much. And Debbie, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chief Bell. Good morning, committee. As I said, my name is Debbie Vandenacker. I'm a senior planner at Planscape, and so we are very happy to be working on this project. With me is Brianne. She's up in the audience there, and she keeps all things working in the right direction on this project as well as many others. Next slide, please. So pretty simple agenda for us this morning in terms of, that's okay. Excellent. Want to give an overview of the project itself, an introduction to the CPPS. Just, is everybody familiar with the CPPS as a concept? I don't want to be simplifying or over talking to things. Yeah? Okay. Best practices and lessons learned, carry forward policy directions, guiding principles, and an overview of the housing needs, which you are, exquisitely familiar with, I'm sure. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this project is to develop a county-level CPP bylaw template to support affordable and attainable housing goals and targets, and then to support the local area municipalities that decide to pick up that template with the official plan amendment template as well. So we know from doing a lot of this work that one of the biggest barriers to the lower tiers picking this up is just the commitment to creating a CPP bylaw, as well as the communication piece and the understanding of it. So Simcoe County is, to my mind, very forward-thinking in the same way we're doing a similar project in the county of Frontenac from the county level to provide that support and that value added to all your municipal partners in order to do that initial groundwork and the thinking and the development of the bylaw itself that they can then customize when they decide to pick it up for their specific needs. So I think I'm very excited that counties are starting to do this. Excuse me, and upper tiers are starting to do this to support their municipal partners in the implementation of this for various priorities. Next slide, please. So 3 basic phases with this project. The background phase was basically us getting up to speed on 16 official plans, as well as your county policy sort of framework. We needed to have a really good understanding of where everybody is sitting in your jurisdiction. Right now we're in phase 2 with the draft documents. So drafting the bylaw, doing the engagement piece, coming to you, getting feedback, so that in the final phase we can go to get some, default approval for it, so that we know at the county level that this piece is finished, and then hopefully the area municipalities that are ready, willing, and able to pick up the template do so. Next slide, please. So the work completed to date, we had a project initiation meeting on July 17th. We've done a background and directions brief. We've had 2 local planning working group sessions, one in September, one in November. So we're kind of doing this fast and furious. We want to keep momentum up with the lower tier planners and get their expertise in the template. So know what's working for them, know what they need, know where they want us to take it next. So it's a really great group, actually. I really enjoy coming and talking to them. So just last week, we were here in this room with them and had a really robust discussion about the work that we'd completed to date on the template and to get their specific feedback. The webpage is available, so if you want some larger background on the project, you can go to that website and grab it. And then the phase 1 presentations and engagement are underway. So not only today, but in the coming week, we're doing specialized engagement sessions with community groups, especially with the development community as well, to see what they need to make these units happen. I'm very excited about those sessions. It's pretty great when you can sit down with the people that actually put shovels in the ground and the investment and say, what do you need? How can we support that to achieve these housing goals? Next slide, please. So what is a CPPS? This slide is basically just to tell you that it is neither a new tool nor something that other jurisdictions aren't doing. There are jurisdictions doing this. I think we all aware of all of the planning changes that have happened in the last few years. And this is a tool that has been around and rebranded since 2007, I believe, rebranded in 2017. So these are some of the examples of other jurisdictions that have put this in place. It's not all of them, just want to give you a select sort of view of it. Next slide, please. So what is a CPPS? It replaces a zoning bylaw for a specific area. So I like to think of this as it's a similar tool in terms of creating a structure for development. It's just got some flexibility and some add-ons that a bylaw doesn't have. So it does replace the zoning bylaw, the site plan, and the minor variance planning processes. So I'm not sure how involved any of you have been in terms of getting a development approved, but there can be a number of different approval processes. And depending on where you are, it can be a significant investment of both time and resources to get those approvals, especially when they're done separately. A CPPS rolls them into one permit. So instead of having to get your zoning bylaw approval, then going and doing a whole different technical analysis for your site plan approval, and then going to your building permit, all of those considerations are done one time. Staff and or council issues a permit, and then you can go to building permit. So it's pretty great that way. It does enhance transparency in the approval process. When you read a well-written CPP bylaw, it shows the developer, the landowner, the person with the investment, exactly what they need to do in order to get the approvals. And that is very valuable in terms of them being able to invest in an area because it's transparent for them. They don't have to play this sort of long-term guessing game. It does provide for conditional approvals. As somebody who sat in both sides of being a municipal planner and as well now in the private sector, conditional approvals are an excellent way to get the confidence to invest in the project without necessarily having to say everything is in place right now. And so a zoning bylaw actually doesn't give you that ability right now. There's no regs to implement a condition on a zoning bylaw approval. CPPS does have that ability. You can go for discretionary uses. They're permitted. So things that you think could work probably in an area. So it gives the development community the initial confidence as long as certain things are met. So that's another option available within this tool. It gives you the flexibility for allowing variations from the permitted standards. And it also gives delegated approval, which I think is one of the biggest benefits to this tool. Each jurisdiction can decide what they're comfortable having staff approve versus what they're comfortable having council approve. And that very much varies by jurisdictional culture and a whole bunch of other things, but you can now give delegated authority to your staff for a lot more than is available now, typically. And also, council can see what council needs to see when there's sort of community involvement involved in it, but the upshot of that is that you can get approvals through faster that should be approved faster, and you can take the time on the approvals that are more complicated that require the council review. Next slide, please. So here's just an illustration of a very basic process comparison. This is This is sort of decentralized, just to get the idea across. And so if you look at the top one, a minor variance with, it's so 60 days, say, for a minor variance, say 90 days for zoning bylaw amendment, then you could get into site plan approval. And again, lots of municipalities struggle to make these timelines with these different approvals. The CPPS has a 45-day legislated timeline. So the idea being you get a complete application in, staff look at this one time. They don't have to separate their thinking into the various applicable approvals. You look at it one time, hopefully approvals come within 45 days. Next slide, please. So why are we trying to do this with Simcoe? The goal is to support and encourage housing types that achieve affordable and attainable targets. This is about housing. So when I mentioned that project in Frontenac, their priority is protecting their waterfront. And so this tool is flexible in terms of it can target what you're trying to achieve. And in this case, it's affordable and attainable housing targets. It will implement the vision, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but the vision that you have identified. So typically when you're designing a CPPS, you start with developing a community vision. You have already done that for us. We're using your work and your policy guidance to already establish that vision. It simplifies and streamlines the application process, as we just saw in the visual, and it may define financial initiatives and incentives, which is a really great tool that we can add on to this, and allows consistent planning and development throughout the county as opposed to by municipality. And so that's a really strong message to be sending to the investment community and the development community that this is standardized. And it gives the county the ability to sort of identify the priorities at the higher level and then support each municipality with implementing them. Next slide, please. So we've done a bunch of this work. There are things, we've talked to each of the key players in each of the municipalities, not for this job, but for other jobs, so we like to apply the lessons learned, on what they learned in terms of developing their CPPS and implementing it. So those are two very different things. We can have all of the dreams and the vision and all of those things to create a CPPS bylaw, or CPP bylaw, excuse me, and then what does it look like for your municipality to implement it? So both of those lessons are incredibly important. These are some very high-level lessons that we know we need to carry forward. So clarity and precision. A precise bylaw that's easily understood and applied is imperative. So planners speak a different language. We exist sort of in a different legislative world, and it's very important to make sure that this bylaw is written in terms that the landowner and the development community can understand and apply. We want to make it really clear. Education and communication early and often for staff and the public is essential. One of the best lessons learned we know in Huntsville is that it took them 2 years to dig themselves out of a communication hole that this was a tree bylaw just under a different name. And so that message somehow went forward at the beginning of this process and then was misunderstood and carried forward. So we know that can really get in the way of the implementation of a really great tool. So making sure that everybody understands what this is, what it can do, what their role in it is, we try to make sure that that comes out early and often. The stakeholder engagement piece, this is what I've spent my career doing, making sure that we have the conversations, making sure that we're listening to the feedback that we're getting from those conversations and asking the right questions to the right people. We're very much making that a priority. And then that this is flexible. One of the things I think everybody recognizes in the struggle with land use planning in municipalities is that a zoning bylaw is a blunt tool. If you need to be 6 inches closer to a front lot line, you need to go through what can be a fairly onerous process to get an approval. This is flexible, and it gives staff and the municipality the ability to set the vision of what they're trying to achieve and then let some creativity happen. So that's something that we know that we need to make sure we carry forward too. Next slide, please. So the policy directions that we are following very generally for this, going into it from our lessons learned, from the background work that we did, is that effective engagement piece, the inclusion of a variety of housing incentive tools, and then collaborative development. We want to make sure that working with local area planners, the development community, community partners, and other interested stakeholders to ensure that the provisions of the bylaw are representative and mitigate potential concerns wherever possible. So this isn't about the county driving forward just a county level vision. This is making the county supporting a community vision to implement a really good tool. Next slide, please. So these are guiding principles. One of the things pretty early on in the process that struck me as something we want to avoid is just adding housing units for the sake of adding housing units without the recognition that this is where people live. And this is where they create their lives, this is where they raise their kids, this is where they go home to at night. And so making sure that we're developing this in a way that recognizes complete communities, that they're connected, that they need to be accessible. All of those great things about good community design, we want to make sure are included. This isn't just about throwing units where we can throw units in order to meet those targets. We want this to be done well. So these are the recommended guiding principles that we have included in this project. Next, please. So this vision piece, and I would love this to be open for discussion. I think we'll probably get through the slides. I do have a discussion sort of sheet, but I really would like your input on this vision. So affordable and attainable housing in the County of Simcoe will be developed through the creation of complete, inclusive, and sustainable communities. These developments will be guided by principles of equity, accessibility, and long-term livability, offering a diverse mix of housing types integrated with essential amenities, transit, and green infrastructure. Private sector partners are encouraged to innovate and collaborate in building communities that are not only financially viable, but also socially and environmentally responsible. So when you read that vision, if there is a piece missing, if you think we are a little to the side of where you would like to go, we'd really like to hear that. The idea, of course, is trying to capture this inclusive and complete community vision and being a little bit creative. I love it when people come back from trips, and I've heard it a number of times. The most special places they have been are eclectic, and they're kind of cool, and they've developed organically in these interesting communities. And that's something I think we can lean into with this. Next slide, please. So these are policy directions from your work that we are leaning on. The housing needs assessment identified housing needs and the housing attainable supply action plan report identifies 4 strategic approaches. So simplified and streamlined policy, it's exactly what we're trying to do. Innovative development initiatives led by the county to facilitate the delivery of affordable and attainable housing. We're checking that box too. I really am very excited to sit in the room with the development community next week and see what they need in order to make these things happen. County advocacy for affordable and attainable housing related to items out of municipal control, defining financial initiatives and incentives aimed at reducing development costs. Next slide. And then these are your strategic directions for addressing housing needs. I'm including this just so you know that we're following the already established party line here in terms of, which we agree with too, by the way. I think you've done comprehensive and really good work here, and we're going to rely on that. Next slide. So this is what I would like to ask and discuss with you hopefully today. What information or context from your experience should we consider for this project as we move forward? What do you feel are the key impediments to achieving the shared housing goals? Similar question to what we'll ask the development community. What do you see as getting in the way? We'd like to create a tool that circumvents that if we can do that at all. What opportunities are you aware of that we need to capitalize on within the bylaw template itself? An interesting one in terms of the bylaw has the ability to do exchanges. So if you need additional lot coverage, then we need you to provide these community benefits. And we've heard there are programs for accessibility, for affordability that are available that we can add in to that exchanges section. So that was a new learning that we had. If this was your wish list to get housing units built, what's on it? If we can take your wish list and we can implement some of those ideas, some of those goals in whatever way we can do, we would love to do that. So the tool itself, I don't know how many of you follow the ERO postings that are out right now. Planning is really funny. It's been sort of shaken and it's just getting poured back out right now, is how I think about it. One of the postings is about a default 10% variation on all zoning bylaw provisions. So it's interesting to me that the province is looking at the flexibility of variations, which is what this tool does, as a default across the board within zoning bylaws. So to me, that's a recognition that that's a viable tool and that can help get houses built faster, and they're looking at doing that across the board. So anyway, I just wanted to, I had it in my notes earlier and I skipped over it, but I wanted to just let you know that there is sort of a larger movement towards allowing variation and flexibility with zoning bylaw provisions, because that is such a very blunt tool to be using. So who wants to jump in with some conversation here? And
Sure.
Yes.
Thanks, Debbie. It was a great presentation. I'll open up to the floor. I just had one quick clarification. When you were going through one of the slides, I noticed you mentioned the people that are using it now is Lake of Bays. Lake of Bays is part of the district of Muskoka. They're lower tier. What is the difference between them and us? Because we're taking a top-down approach. We're going from the upper tier down in this case. Can you explain that?
Thank you. Great question. So it is the lower tiers that have to pick this up and implement it. So the value of the county doing this work on behalf of the municipalities, it means municipal staff don't have to find their own funding. They don't have to dedicate their own time to do this baseline thinking. They will, however, have to pick this up, do their own consultation, talk to their own residents about the bylaw that they're ultimately going to put in. So our job is to create a really good template that they can almost plug and play their provisions into. And so Lake of Bays just did this themselves. The District of Muskoka is not interested in doing a CPPS.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll open up to the floor and hopefully encourage lots of discussion.
Appeals, okay.
Councillor Follis, and then...
Sure, I'll take a crack at it. Curious how this will be implemented in Aurelia versus other portions of the county. Are we going to see something that looks very similar, identical, or will there be significant differences? Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thank you. That's a great question. So as Debbie had noted, the concept of this is to provide a template to get a document that's 80 to 90% there. What each of the local municipalities who have zoning bylaws that need to implement. Again, it's not going to be mandatory. It's something that could be optional. So if one of our lower tiers chooses to implement the template straightforward in a very straightforward fashion, they can do so. The city of Aurelia could also take it and augment it, supplement it, or adapt it as staff and then city council see fit, and that those options are available to any of the local municipalities. So it can be customized, or it can be taken, to Debbie's point, straight off the shelf and plug and play. So it's doing all that pre-thought, that pre-work, thinking about how housing can be facilitated through the CPPS. But because the county can't do it, and because we're such a large geography, we wanted to provide the ability for every municipality to flavor it in their own way.
Great, thank you for that. Follow up, go ahead.
No, really appreciate that. The second question I had was just around public consultation. So my understanding with this is kind of addressing some of the extra complexities associated with the back end, but all of those requirements for public consultation are still there. Maybe if you could fill in those blanks, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Through you. Address you through you? Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, great question. So the template looks very much like a zoning bylaw, and then it gives you, so let's just take a front yard setback. It's the easiest one we can do. So say it's a 10-meter front yard setback. Our template will say, okay, 10 meter is perhaps what your zoning bylaw says. Then we're suggesting a 15% reduction in that should be a staff variation that they can approve. Above that, it would come to council. And so what we're looking at is making, I've lost my train of thought. Can you repeat your question? I'm very sorry.
No, not to worry. I do that all the time.
Yeah, it's very odd.
So it was more a question around public consultation. So I assume where the efficiencies are being realized is more on the back end with the application process, but there's still these requirements to do public consultation in certain scenarios.
Right. Sorry, that's where I lost my train of thought. Sorry, it goes down a rabbit hole of provisions, and that happens all the time in this sort of process. So The consultation that we're doing right now is trying to understand what is the best way to achieve the housing targets at a higher level. How do we build more units? What's in the way of doing that? What do you want your communities to look like? That's our job now. When the template is released for the local area municipalities and they pick it up, they will consult on the specific provision. So that's where I went down there, sorry, but the 10, so say it's a 10-meter front yard setback, maybe they don't want that. Those specifics is where they will plug and play what their specific community will look like. So we're trying to do the work, the visioning work, and set the tool up and the exchanges piece and those details, but the actual implementation specifics will remain the same by each municipality. So it might be 10 meters in one, it might be 8 meters in another. They will plug and play those elements. Does that help? And so the consultation piece will be with their own local residents on the details.
Okay. Committee Member Webster, go ahead.
As a developer who spends a lot of time buried in approval processes, I think this is an excellent initiative, and I'm very excited to see the progress. The idea that you could have planning permission sorted out in 45 days is pretty amazing. I think that a critical enabler of achieving that timeline is the delegated approvals to staff. And in my experience, some municipalities have concerns about that, and I would spend some time thinking about how you get municipalities on board with delegating some of those decision powers to staff, because needing to go to council does dramatically extend the schedule. I think that the CPPS should also focus on making rental and affordable housing easier to build, not just theoretically permitted. You might want to consider including some automatic height and density bonuses. Building rental and affordable housing is disadvantaged versus sort of ownership development, and it needs a bit of a push to get over the line. I think the CPPS should also consider concessions around parking requirements and whether or not relaxing parking requirements helps. One of the big challenges in Simcoe County is that you could develop more rental and affordable housing if there was a way to provide less parking, but that relies on transit. So you're going to need to be judicious where you relax parking minimums, but we're developing a subdivision in Midhurst right now, and there's ample room on the street for parking that would count against the units if only the municipality would see it that way. We're working on a project right now where we could add 50% more units, including affordable units in sort of a, as part of the building if we weren't constrained on parking. So that would be a major change for us. I also think it's important to consider providing some fee or DC relief. As I've spoken to many people in this room about, we were working on a project that we'd like to get going this spring, but it is financially challenged. And one of the ways that these projects are happening in other municipalities around the GTA is some fee relief on either DCs or property taxes. And I think that it's incumbent upon the county to show some leadership on this initiative. I've been spending the last year trying to make progress on this and don't have much to show for it. And I think this would be a great sort of way to complete the circle and make these projects actually happen. I also think that you should consider compatibility with CMHC financing. Building rental and affordable relies on CMHC financing both for construction and for stabilization. They have their own arcane rules about what is required. For example, on our project in Midhurst, they won't finance a project that has less than 5 units on a piece of property. We were proposing to build 4plexes. That required changing the layout of the property underneath so that we could qualify for CMHC financing. And the CPPS, I think, should include flexibility to either pursue like a red line application on a draft plan of subdivision or a severance or consent application process to help divide properties up. And my last comment is that this is complicated and hard to get right. If you'd like a test case to run through the proposed CPPS, I think we have a great candidate with our project in Midhurst, and I'd be happy to engage in that conversation. And I think that any CPPS that's approved should also include a a feedback loop or an opportunity to perhaps modify it in a year's time or something like that once we have a bit of experience. I'll close by saying I think this is great. I'd love to see it happen.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
feedback. Any comment by staff or Denny? Sure, go ahead.
So one of the pieces about the CMHC funding, that has been brought up, and it's an exceptionally good idea. So we have the ability within the bylaw to offer exchanges, which means if you want additional units or if you want additional height, you need to meet this sort of other list of things. And having specifics about the CMHC funding the example that I had was for accessibility. Those are the great collaborative efforts that we can really use to make this work. So thank you for that. The other piece was about the test case. Yes, and yes, yes, please. And also it is a recommendation for not only we'll do it at the county level as sort of a high level run through of that, but each of the local area municipalities to run a concurrent test with their zoning bylaw and their current processes with the CPPS for a few months until they're comfortable to understand what that looks like. You don't want to throw everything out. You want to make sure that the implementation of this and when you hit go on it, it's as streamlined and as effective as it can be. And also, yes, we're never going to get it perfect. Nobody ever does. But you can make those changes as it goes through. So a lot of municipalities choose to pick this up for a certain priority. So Lake of Bays, Huntsville, Innisfil, these are areas that they used a CPPS for a specific area, usually it's lakefront, and then they found it works well enough. They don't want to lose the flexibility that's in that tool. They apply it to the rest of their jurisdiction. And so there's a building block sort of effect. This template will be built in the same sort of theory. So local municipalities can pick it up for exactly what it's intended for. They can extend it to use in other areas should they so choose to.
Great. Okay. Other comments or questions? Go ahead. Committee Member Peddle.
Yeah, just around, and I'm trying to remember all the words that were in the vision, but it would be from a perspective of services that are providing services to homeless individuals, something around the supportive perspective as well, because the county has stepped up to create supportive housing projects that we have. But it would also be great if developers would be interested in putting up that capital and then leveraging with programming from the county. Those are also some innovative solutions as well. So just for an added piece of that.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Snell.
Thank you through the chair. I think this is a great forward-thinking direction, especially as we're seeing from the province already the deferral of DCs to sales versus upfront, the amalgamation of conservation authorities now being announced, right? They're trying to remove everything that's in the way. To the previous speaker's point about parking, I think parking is a big thing, especially in urban centers. You know, at $50K per spot, that's definitely a deterrent to a lot of folks to look to provide. And when you have access to transit and whatnot right at your door, it kind of makes sense to be flexible there. As a councillor or deputy mayor in Wasaga Beach, we oftentimes get developers coming forward where my feedback in a residential setting is that there's not enough parking. Don't expect that somebody's going to park in the garage and then park in the one lane driveway and not have any other space for guests or whatnot, because let's be real, you know, to afford a single family dwelling or even a townhouse, you usually require 2 working people and vehicles. So in those settings, we need more parking accommodation, but I think in the urban centers, not so much. And also I think it's a balance of green space and setbacks, right? Because again, like in our community, our official plan is 30 years old. Like we're on our 3rd draft. Finally, it's coming forward, you know, so that they don't have to keep continuously coming back to council for all these accommodations or requirements. And we need to be able to build smaller spaces. People are willing to live in smaller spaces to make it affordable. But at the same time, it frustrates me as a person in this position to have to give up green space all the time, you know, and the province unfortunately has really clawed back some of that ability for us to require that and to say no. Children need a place to play. People need a place to gather. So as this gets developed, I hope that there's a balance between the green space and also maximizing utilization of square footage. Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't agree with you more. This is always a balance. Our goal here is to give a really wide range of options, and then the local municipalities pick it up for the communities and the culture and how your specific vision for each place. In terms of parking is an interesting one because yes, that is a highly debated topic. What are you giving up in order to provide this additional parking? What we're aiming for in this template is that the exchanges that I was talking about, if you need reduced parking, it's not necessarily $50,000 a ticket. Maybe it is provision of outdoor amenity space on site, or it's contribution to public art, or. And so we want to make sure that the list is comprehensive. So if you need a reduction in something on your site for whatever reason, you're giving something else to the benefit of the community overall. And it may not end up being a financial deterrent, but it is highly valuable to the community. So we want to try and create that system within this template in order to move that forward. The other thing I wanted to mention was in terms of appeals, appeals for this, you can appeal the actual bylaw when it comes in. What won't be available for appeal to third parties is when you make a decision. So if you decide to conditionally permit something, then only the applicant or the municipality can appeal, the same as the zoning bylaw situation right now. When you put the zoning bylaw into place, when you put the CPP bylaw into place, the actual bylaw can be appealed until you work that out. So I just wanted to mention that. Yes, they're not on the specific. They're not on the specific applications, and that to me gives me a great deal of comfort. So thinking back to being a municipal planner, if you get a weird and wonderful and creative development in front of you, you don't have a good way to say yes. This gives you a good way to say yes. Now you can consider all of the options. You can really ground into whatever your community vision for is what you're trying to achieve. And if it's something you've never seen before, you no longer have to just say no, or you give a blanket yes. Now you can say yes, but we need to make sure of this. Yes, but we feel that this is appropriate. And so you've got that sort of inherent flexibility to require what you need for your specific community. I think that's a great, I think it has the capacity to be a really great lever to encourage these units.
Great, thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, last chance. All right, thank you very much for the presentation, Debbie. It's great, thank you. Okay, I will put this motion up. That item AHA 2000, sorry, did you want to jump in there? I seen you turn to me. You're good? Okay, yep. Okay. The item AHA 2025-298 dated November 18th, 2025 regarding the County of Simcoe's Community Planning Permit System CPPS template project update be received. Somebody put that on the floor for me, please. Great, Councillor Snell, seconded by Councillor Proust. All in favor? That is passed. Thank you. Other matters for consideration. Go ahead, General Manager.
Just a short one. Sorry it wasn't on the agenda, but this Tuesday we'll be presenting to Council the 10-year Affordable Housing and Homelessness Strategy, one that you've participated in and given feedback. And so we'll be releasing the actual full report plus an executive summary on Tuesday, and then there'll be an event after Council celebrating its launch. So if you are able and available, please come and support both it being presented at Council and as well as being celebrated as a launch after. Additionally, we'll be sharing the materials with you probably a few hours before agenda goes live or right when agenda goes live. So you'll have in your hand, it's a lot of PDF. So we're trying to be green. So we are not printing the bigger document. We'll have a few copies of the executive summary available on Tuesday, but for your own edification and to your own organizations, please take a look at it and you know, and have it handy, just so that you can follow along the conversation on Tuesday. Thanks.
Great, General Manager Fayez-Baguette, thank you. Okay, any confidential matters for consideration? I don't imagine any, but there's none right now. And 10, we're on to adjournment. So that the November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee be adjourned at 10:40 a.m. Somebody put that on the floor for me, please. Councilor Proust, seconded by community member Webster. Thank you. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.